Arc Raiders has confirmed you need 5 million to get the max number of skill points when you do the expedition. So, if you don't have 5 million, how can you get it? Because you're going to need it quite quickly. We've got until December 22nd to build up that cash stack. So here's the best ways to make some money in Arc Raiders as quickly as possible. Now, before we can talk about how to make money, we need to talk about how to stop losing money. Every shot fired, every bandage used, every broken shield is money lost. Which means if you go into a raid with hopes of coming out with riches and you use all of your stuff to get those riches, you're not really coming out with as much as you could have. So if you're really trying to get as much money as possible, then try to take in as little as possible. Luckily, the best PvP weapon is literally the Stitcher, so super cheap to make that. But it's better to try and preserve your stash items because those can go towards the 5 million value. What I've been doing is just running with an empty loadout or a free loadout, and if I get out alive, then I'll take in the same stuff that I just ran in with and upgrade to any other weapons that I may have picked up during the raid. In this way, I'm not overspending my resources and we can quite quickly snowball like this. After a few successful raids, you've got a full loadout that started from nothing, and if we do end up dying, then it's not a loss because we never took that stuff from our stash in the first place. Another really painful way people are losing money is by upgrading their weapons, fitting them with attachments, and sticking them in their stash in the hopes of boosting their stash value. I've seen lots of posts online with people having stacks and stacks of Tempests or Bobcats filled with attachments. And oh my goodness, I can't believe how much money they're wasting doing this. Every time you craft a weapon in Arc Raiders, the craftable items are worth more than the weapon itself. You're only going to lose like 1 to 200 coins when you craft a weapon, but every time you upgrade it, you're losing more and more. The same can be said with the attachments as well. The crafting materials are worth more in value than the attachments themselves. So if you craft a weapon from scratch, take it to level 4, and then fill it with high-level attachments, you're potentially losing a few thousand per crafted weapon. And if you fill your stash with like 20 of these things, you can see how the value quickly trickles down. You don't need to fill your stash with value, you just need to have enough value in your stash and coin balance combined. So skip the crafting and min-maxing of your inventory space, you don't need to worry about that. Just get items, sell them, and build up that coin balance. There are also some things in this game that are just pure resource sinks. Firstly, the Queen and Matriarch are absolutely devastating for your resources. You'll need a lot of ammo to take these down. You'll bring in a lot of meds, you'll usually bring in heavy armor, and you'll often come out with almost nothing to gain. Maybe a few queen cores if you're lucky, but overall the amount of stuff that you need to use to take down the queen is far more valuable than anything the queen can drop. The same can be said for going into PvP. If you're going in with the intention to PvP in the hopes of coming out with riches, you're just not going to. All you're going to come out with is a stack of stitches in your bag. Almost everybody's running free or cheap loadouts at this point, so if your value is more than 10,000 and you're going into a raid in the hopes of PvPing players and coming out with something decent, you're just going to lose value. So yeah, if you're going into PvP, try and go in for a cheaper loadout so you're not wasting stuff. And before we move on to the money-making methods, I just want to point something important out. These are just guidelines to help you stop losing money. I'm not saying stop having fun. Like sometimes you just want to go in with all of your best stuff and have a good time. But if you care about making sure you hit that 5 million mark, these are some important things you'll need to remember. Right then, let's talk about actually making money. The number one way to make money is to run Stellar Montes. It's because it's always available, so you can consistently run it no matter what time you get on the game. As soon as you load in, run to Assembly Workshop, Medical Research, or Lobby. You just want to loot through all of the containers there, and you'll quickly pick up between 50 to 80k in value in a couple minutes. Now, the trouble is there's a bunch of other people trying to kill you, so you probably don't want to come in with much. In fact, what I do is go in with literally nothing. I just bring a hatch key in my safe storage pocket. I don't bring any meds, I don't bring any shields, I bring nothing besides that hatch key. I go in, try to get the loot from the high value loot areas that we've just talked about. If I find a few bodies on the floor, I might be able to pick up a gun or two. Now, if I die, I haven't lost anything besides a couple minutes of my time. But if I get out alive, I've then got enough to sell 50 to 80k in value in just a couple minutes. And I've got a gun or two potentially to go into the next run. and I'll rinse and repeat, slowly snowballing my loadout, getting better weapons, armor, augments, and all that stuff, and just repeatedly selling more and more stuff. The hatch key will always be necessary though, because it's just a quicker way to get out firstly, and secondly, it will save you getting extract camped. There's also one hatch key conveniently right in Assembly Workshop, so if you spawn there, loot through all of the containers there, you can get in and out in about a minute and sell about 50 to 80,000 worth. Depending on your luck, this method's going to get you roughly 300 to 500,000 in profit per hour, so long as you're not bringing in any of your own valuable stuff. And if you can put in 10 hours of gameplay between now and December 22nd to grind out your stash value, this could be a very good way to do it. Another method is Lush Blooms. Lush Blooms is an event where fruit baskets will appear scattered around the outskirts of the map. If you collect the fruit in these baskets, you're going to stack up a bunch of value. The fruits stack into each other, which means you can get more value per run, and each fruit basket can have quite a lot of value in each. And a lot of these spawn. My best bet is to go onto Metaforge, look at these spawn locations, and try to get to grips with what the kind of spawn locations are, because each map has certain patterns you can follow. For me, I prefer Spaceport because it's larger, there's more fruit baskets, and it's pretty obvious where they'll spawn. They're always sort of by these raider camps for the most part. Doing Lush Blooms has consistently net me about 500 to 600,000 per hour in profit. The only downside is it's not always available, and there might be other players trying to PvP you, which is a bit of a more riskier play when you consider Stella Montes, if you die, you've only wasted a couple minutes, whereas in Lush Blooms, you might get killed after 15 minutes of bringing a big bag of fruit around. So be extra cautious when you do this. I also found Buried City and Bluegate not to be quite as good, and Spaceport is just absolutely the best, and that only appears, I believe, 2 times per day. Another way to make money is to do the Queen Harvester. Not the actual queen, but the Queen Harvester. What you can do is go in with a pretty low loadout, go to the Harvester, complete the puzzle, and loot all of the breachable containers. Inside there, you'll find arc parts and, more importantly, energy ammo, which can sell for quite a lot. If you've got the time, then you could potentially shoot off the Queen's legs and loot those, and then wait a little bit before the Queen de-aggros to escape near the nearest raider hatch. I found this works the best on damn battlegrounds because there's a raider hatch right nearby. I do think this one's a little riskier though, and the overall profit is usually about 100 to 200,000 per hour, so it's not necessarily the best. But if you're not feeling Stella Montes or the Lush Blooms, then this might work out for you. Another good strategy for making money is honestly just go to any map that has high density loot containers. I'll give you some suggestions that can really run up a lot of value for you. Firstly, Research and Administration has a bunch of containers you can loot through. Spaceport's Departure Building and Arrival Building have 2 to 3 floors filled with lootable containers, and you can easily bloom in value here very quickly. Buried City's Plaza Rosa area, you can loot through one building and you've got a backpack full of stuff to sell already, as well as Grandioso Apartments, and more importantly, Space Travel and Research. Both of these 2 buildings have so many containers in that there's no doubt that you'll fill it up with valuable stuff if you don't get contested by other players. Now here's the best tip. A lot of people run these maps on night raids in the hopes to hunt down the rarest blueprints possible. Funny thing is, whilst all the loot goblins are on the night raid version, like for instance right now, I can go on the day raid and I'm more likely to get the lootable areas for myself. There will be other people looting as well, but there's less competition for it. The people looting are most likely to do the night raid, whereas people doing other things like doing quests or other activities are more likely to be sticking to the day raid, so you can have more luck looting there. Obviously, now that I've said that, maybe that won't be as true. It's a kind of a curse as a YouTuber trying to give tips about the best places to loot. The moment you talk about them, everybody might go there and then it's no longer the best place to loot. But you get the point. Day raids can usually be better than night raids if you're just going for a pure value purposes. Another way to make money that's a little bit more underrated is to wait for an Electro Storm event and go and loot all of the Arc Husks. The probes as well. These things can get you a decent amount of money. It's not as crazy as Stella Montes or Lush Blooms, but it's less contested in my opinion, especially if there isn't a trial for looting Arc Husks. You can easily make 80 to 100k per run, depending on your luck, and we're talking about 2 to 300,000 per hour if you get some good runs. You really need to get lucky and get the Rocketeer drivers that drop from these things, but if you don't get those, you're still bringing it out 60 to 80k in value. Once again, Spaceport seems to be the best for this because there's just so much empty space around the outskirts of the map, which is where they typically spawn. Dam can be pretty good as well, especially in the swamp area. Look for the plumes of smoke. That will tell you where the couriers and arc probes are, and the other arc husks can also be found by looking on the Metaforge map. Not all spawns are the same, but there does seem to be the same spawn circling around this Baron, which is a nice starting point. As a final tip, if you just loot everything you come across, you're going to build up a nice stash of value to take out when you finish the raid. The only thing that's going to slow down your progress is based on how much value you take in. The less value you take in, the more profit you'll make on each raid overall, and the quicker you'll get to that 5 million. Thank you for watching. If you found this useful, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheerio!